Hi, I'm here with Mark Fields, the purchasing agent for Western States Metal Roofing. And back in October of 2021, we did a video for you on the steel supply and price escalation that was going on at the time. And now we're here in April of 2022. And Mark, what's changed?
Probably the biggest change was at the beginning of March, we started to see prices start dropping. They were coming down pretty good. And then right at the beginning of March, then with the Ukraine and Russia situation, we had a uptick in the price that's gone up considerably since that. I think about $300 a ton. Price has gone up since the Ukraine and Russia situation.
That's in one pricing session? That's pretty abnormal to have that type of a price swing within one pricing session, correct?
Yeah, definitely. That's a huge increase in pricing, and this is just based on the last numbers we've seen, and next week is probably going to go up even more.
Are you referring to the CRU or something different?
Yeah, I was using the CRU as a benchmark to see the increase.
How low had the CRU gotten before it started to do its recent uptick?
On the hot rolled, it was down to 935,
And what is it now?
and it came out this week. It was at hot rolled was 1237.
Wow. And do you expect that it's going to stabilize, go up, or go down if you had a guess at this?
I mean, over the next few weeks, it's going to go up until we see some kind of a stabilization, or maybe Russia starts exporting more pig iron. But and on the other hand, it could last a long time.
So let me circle back here. So during the height of the steel shortage, when prices were at an all-time high, approximately how high was that, just to put this in perspective?
At the very height of it, it would have been about 19 about 1930.
Okay, so we've come down quite a bit, but we're headed back in that direction.
Yeah, that's coming down though over a period of say 6 months for it to get down to where it was, and now we're jumping up considerably in just a short time. So that's what it's got me guessing that it's probably going to go up.
Yeah, to summarize, it sounds like we were in a period of falling prices, actually pretty falling prices fairly drastically, and now we're in a climate of rising prices overnight.
Right. Yeah.
So Mark, one of the reasons that you say the prices are escalating as a result of the war is pig iron. Can you explain what pig iron is used for and why this war is so crucial in the prices going up and supply constraints?
Well, pig iron is one of the ingredients they could use in a EAF or electric arc furnace. So the U.S. imports quite a bit between Ukraine and Russia together. The imports into the United States alone is about, or of the U.S. imports of pig iron, the Ukraine and Russia account for about 61% of that. So to have that just go away is pretty significant, and just the impact on us, and now you got an impact on the EU is tremendous. I'm there. If you go back to when our price was at the highest, our price compared to the EU price for steel was pretty high. I mean, the US price was probably the highest in the world market for steel at the time. And now we're actually below and getting to be on the lower end of the pricing. Just and that's all due to the pig iron, not just the pig iron, but to the availability of the raw materials in Europe. It's having a pretty big impact on the cost, and I see it continuing to go up until there's some kind of long-term resolution.
So you've talked about the cost. What has me a little more concerned is the supply. I mean, currently supply was, there was plenty of supply. It wasn't an issue the last few months. But if there's no pig iron and if Europe has their problems, and then also if it sounds like we're not going to be able to rely on foreign steel right now because it's higher and there's no pig iron. But even worse, sounds like we're going to do a lot more exporting of domestic steel. Do you suspect supply could be a problem like it was the middle of 2021 again?
Yeah, if we start exporting, that will definitely impact our supply here. As of right now, for us, we haven't been hit with any allocations. I've talked to other people that purchase for their companies, and they are seeing where offers have been taken off the table and by the mills, and the mills are telling them we'll come out with new pricing that will be in line with the current market situation, and they're actually using the allocation word again, which we had finally got away from. It will definitely have an impact if we start exporting. It takes us to the import from some of the Asian countries. Is that we still have the issues that we talked about last time at the ports, and the you don't know when that material is going to come in. There's no, if you're counting on your material to be here in 3 months, it's not going to happen. If you're counting on it in 5 months, maybe, but no guarantee. So it's definitely going to cause issue for the supply side.
The companies you were talking about that had their quotes pulled from them, was that domestic mills, import mills, or a mix of both?
That was domestic mills.
Oh, wow. Probably even more so with imports. I would imagine that's happening, right?
I haven't seen it yet, but it's probably just because of our lag time. So, probably in the next couple weeks.
So, Mark, we were talking a lot about supply. Now, what about the pricing? So, it seemed like the pricing was falling so fast that I think people were a little gun shy to buy. The steel that's coming in the near future, I mean, the stuff that's coming in between now and let's call it June, July, I mean, is that stuff going to be cheaper? Was there a large window where you can get these orders in? I mean, kind of explain what we can expect in the near future with steel that's been ordered in advance.
Okay, well, as far as the if you want to say the cheaper steel, the lowest cost steel, the window of opportunity to buy it was not very big. If you got in at the beginning, it was maybe 60 days, and the when it dropped to its lowest, it was a pretty significant drop, which a lot of people had forecasted that there was a potential for that to happen. So if you didn't get in on that and we're holding out, say for the next month offer to come out and figuring that pricing was still going to go down, then with the current situation, then you've missed out on that opportunity. So really, I mean, at the most, I would say on 60 days to get the best price on the steel.
So if you're looking at pricing where we're talking all of the second quarter and into the beginning of the third quarter, I mean, where we're at today versus where we're going to be during that time frame, I mean, do you expect things to be cheaper, about the same, or higher?
Higher than today for sure. That's my best guess. Is it's definitely going to be higher than today. The question is, how high is it going to go? How long is it going to take to have any kind of resolution, and how long will it take for I'm referring to Ukraine and Russia, and even when they do have a resolution, how many of the sanctions are going to stay in place? To what extent is Ukraine's infrastructure going to be, unable to produce and get their mills back up and running? I mean, there's just so many unknown, but a substantial amount of time the market will be uncertain and the pricing will continue to go up before we see relief.
What an unprecedented time in the steel market. I mean, between the effects of COVID and the shortages and the pricing, and right when you're turning the corner, just out of the blue, you get hit with this Ukraine-Russia catastrophe. I mean, it just seems like we can never get past things and back to normal. The new normal is craziness.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, going back, 15 years, 20 years ago when you could put your orders in and it wasn't that big of an issue. There was nothing you had to deal with. You negotiated your pricing, you got your pricing, and now it's like I mean, just since COVID and there's so many issues going on with the cost of fuel, the cost of freight, and just stuff that you never really had to think about before. But yeah, definitely.
Yeah, increased labor cost. Right now that's a big deal also.
Right. Yeah. There's just so many different issues that you have to take into account that affect the price of steel.
So Mark, just to end this video, sum up where we're at with the cost of steel right now.
With the cost of steel, there's a lot of variables that are affecting it right now. You have coking coal used in the blast furnace is up, I think, over 500% since May of last year. You have zinc costs are going up, and we see that in our extras that the mills add, and they've all increased their extras for zinc. There's iron ore is also up. It's been up 7 of the last 9 weeks. You got all this going into with the effects of the Ukraine-Russia situation and the cost of fuel. I guess to sum it up, my best guess is that we're going to see this increasing going on for increases in steel prices for the next a couple months, probably.
Do you think it's possible we could approach the previous highs of 1,900 a ton?
I never thought we would get to those prices, $2,000 a ton for steel, but man, I don't know. I really don't. There's just so many variables.
So in the past, we've talked about how it makes sense to pre-purchase steel when we're in these times of uncertainty. At the moment, if you have a job that is going to go in the second or third quarter, does it make sense to pre-purchase steel now, or you maybe make more sense not to?
Look at the current steel inventories in the United States are actually, considering everything that's going on, are decent. A little bit higher than they were when COVID came around the first time. But this situation is pretty unique, and if you're bidding a job and quoting a job, and you want to make sure that you're getting the price that you're using to quote with, then it makes sense to me to go ahead and purchase the steel, because if you don't do it today, I mean, like I said, my opinion is it's going to go up probably for the next couple months at least. So if you got your steel on order today, you'd know what you were paying. You'd know that you're going to get the material that you need, and not be uncertain about what's going to happen to the future, as far as availability and pricing.
So there's a lot less risk of the price going down versus the price going up, correct?
I would say, yeah. I mean, at least for the being conservative, I would say at least for the next 2 months.
In this video, we're talking about steel, but God, everything related in the metals markets is crazy right now. You were telling me about copper earlier. Why don't you just briefly tell everybody about what's gone on with copper pricing and more importantly, the copper supply?
But it's hit an all-time high, which again, I think the last high was I think it was last week, might have been the week before, but it was 492 was COMEX. So um, it's been the pricing's been crazy, but what's even harder to deal with is the demand. I mean, if you need copper and you don't already have it on order, then you're going to be paying quite a bit if you can find it. It's getting really hard to locate copper, um, and the lead time right now. I think the last quote was, I believe, it was 70 weeks
Oh, wait a minute.
for
I
a
want to
new
make sure I
order
got that right.
placement.
It's more than a year out to order copper from the mill right now?
Correct. Yep.
Wow.
And
It,
it's the same with the steel, is that you if you're not already a customer of the mill, and it'll be really hard to even get a mill order placed.
wow. Are you seeing similar issues with aluminum, or is aluminum not nearly as bad as copper? Because I know Russia actually produces a lot of stuff that you need for aluminum.
Yeah, as of right now, I haven't seen issues with the aluminum to the extent. I mean, the prices did go up. They were climbing up pretty high, but nothing like the copper. And as far as the supply side of it, we haven't had any issues.